Have you ever wondered why some women seem to radiate a quiet, undeniable beauty as they age, while others chase external validation and fleeting trends? What's their secret? This kind of beauty isn't about expensive clothes, flawless makeup, or following the latest trends. It's deeper than that. It's timeless, effortless, and comes from within. The answer might surprise you, but it lies in the way these women embrace inner peace, live simply, and let go of unnecessary social ties that drain their energy and spirit. These aren't just practices. They're a mindset and a way of living that transforms not only how they see themselves but also how the world sees them. In today's discussion, we'll uncover the profound truths behind this kind of beauty and explore 3 key traits that confident and wise women possess as they age gracefully. These women don't just accept the passage of time, they thrive in it. They've learned to cultivate an inner richness that no amount of makeup can replicate, distance themselves from distractions to live authentically, and embrace simplicity to focus on what truly matters. As you follow along, you'll discover how these practices can bring peace, joy, and fulfillment to your life, no matter where you are on your journey. This isn't about abandoning self-care or neglecting appearance. It's about shifting the focus inward, where true beauty and happiness reside. By the end of this conversation, you'll understand why the happiest and most radiant women are the ones who prioritize their inner world over the noise of society. You'll also gain practical insights to help you apply these principles in your own life, creating a sense of purpose and freedom that feels uniquely yours. Before we dive in, take a moment to subscribe and click the notification bell so you won't miss out on future content. Your support means everything. It allows us to continue sharing meaningful lessons and stories that inspire and empower. If you find this topic helpful or thought-provoking, I'd deeply appreciate it if you could like and share the video. And one more thing, I value your feedback immensely. If this resonates with you, please comment 1 below. If you feel there's room for improvement or you'd like us to cover a different angle, comment 0, and let us know how we can serve you better. Now, let's begin this journey together. First characteristic: inner richness and confidence in accepting your true self. Where does true beauty truly reside? Is it tucked away in the perfectly applied layers of makeup or the meticulously chosen attire that promises to dazzle others? Or is it something far deeper, something intangible yet profoundly impactful? Renowned writer Eleanor Barnes once said, "There are 3 kinds of beauty. The kind we wear on our faces, the kind we build in our minds, and the kind we cultivate in the way we live every day." This insight, steeped in timeless wisdom, gently reminds us that physical beauty is fleeting, while true beauty, the kind that lingers in the hearts of those who encounter it, emerges from within, nurtured by experience, wisdom, and a life lived authentically. The women who radiate this inner beauty aren't necessarily the ones adorned with jewels or defined by flawless exteriors. They are the ones who have come to embrace their authentic selves, imperfections, quirks, and all. Their worth is not measured by societal standards but by the richness of their inner world, their quiet strength, and the unwavering confidence they carry in simply being who they are. This kind of beauty defies time and trends, captivating others with its depth and sincerity. Take Grace Matthews, a woman who chose to live by her terms, as an inspiring example. Grace, a celebrated writer, was admired not for her appearance but for her profound sense of self. She rarely wore makeup, yet her presence could light up any room. Her secret wasn't found in her reflection but in her philosophy. The most powerful thing a woman can do is learn how to make herself happy, no matter the circumstances. These words weren't empty. They were the foundation of her life. Grace's happiness came not from external validation but from the joy and purpose she cultivated within herself. She didn't need a polished facade. Her fulfillment and confidence created a radiance that outshone anything cosmetic. Similarly, Alice Turner, a beloved author who lived to the remarkable age of 106, exemplified the power of authenticity. Even in her later years, Alice appeared at public events with her silver hair loosely tied back, her face free of makeup but glowing with a natural charm that left a lasting impression. When someone asked why she chose to forego makeup, her response was simple yet profound. Makeup feels like a mask. It hides the real me. I want people to see me as I am, with all my years, experiences, and truths. Her words echoed deeply with those who heard them, for they embodied a wisdom that only comes with time. Alice's beauty wasn't in the things she added to herself, but in the confidence she had to show up exactly as she was. Alice's authenticity extended into her work. Her stories were filled with characters who were raw, genuine, and imperfectly human. Her friend Margaret Rhodes once said of her, "Everything is beautiful when it's natural and true." Alice's life and legacy remind us that true beauty isn't in the layers we adorn ourselves with, but in the ones we strip away to reveal our essence. This perspective on beauty invites us to shift our focus. In a world obsessed with appearances, how much energy do we spend trying to craft an image for others instead of nurturing our hearts and souls? Imagine the peace and fulfillment we could cultivate if we turned that energy inward, towards self-love, growth, and acceptance. What if we allowed ourselves to simply be? True beauty is found in the confidence to stand unapologetically in your truth, the courage to love yourself in every season of life, and the wisdom to honor your unique journey. It's in the quiet elegance of a woman who knows she has nothing to prove and whose worth doesn't hinge on the opinions of others. It's in the depth of her smile, the grace in her voice, and the richness of her inner world. Instead of hiding behind masks, let yourself shine through. Embrace the lines on your face. They tell your story. Wear your authenticity with pride. It's the rarest and most valuable accessory you'll ever own. As Alice Turner's life so beautifully demonstrates, true beauty isn't about chasing perfection. It's about the courage to show up as yourself, to live with integrity, and to nurture a soul so rich and full that it touches everyone you meet. Let your inner world shine. It is, and always will be, your greatest masterpiece. Second characteristic: distance from unnecessary social relationships and living your own life. Have you ever truly stopped to reflect on the relationships that occupy your time and energy? Do they bring warmth to your heart, or do they leave you feeling depleted, weighed down by obligations that add little meaning to your life? In a world bustling with noise and endless demands, wise and thoughtful individuals, especially women who've embraced life's lessons, understand a profound truth. Our energy is sacred and finite, and how we choose to spend it profoundly shapes the essence of our existence. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Life is not a popularity contest, nor is it measured by the number of acquaintances we gather along the way. What truly matters is the quality of our inner peace and the relationships that enrich our lives without compromising our well-being. There is a unique freedom in stepping away from unnecessary connections, an act of self-love that allows us to live more authentically. It's not about cutting ties out of bitterness, but about honoring our inner world and reclaiming our right to a life of depth and intention. Imagine the power of solitude, a space where you can breathe deeply, create freely, and nurture your dreams. Solitude is not a void. It's a canvas for self-discovery and creativity. The philosopher Henry Taylor captured this sentiment perfectly when he said, "True independence is more valuable than shallow connections." And it's true, independence doesn't mean being alone, it means being whole. It's about choosing quality over quantity, depth over superficiality. Consider the story of Anne Harper, an inspiring example of this philosophy in action. And, an author whose brilliance was recognized late in life, built her legacy on the foundation of intentional living. She once wrote, "The world belongs to those who claim it for themselves, not to those who seek permission from others." This simple yet powerful idea shaped her life's journey. And her husband shared a unique understanding during their marriage. They nurtured their passions. He tended his garden while she poured her heart into writing. Their lives were rich not because they filled them with endless social engagements, but because they respected each other's need for peace and purpose. After her husband's passing, Anne leaned even further into her work. One day, she crossed paths with an old acquaintance during a walk, and what began as a brief greeting turned into an exhausting, one-sided conversation. Reflecting later, she quipped, "That wasn't a walk, it was a press conference." That moment solidified her resolve to limit unnecessary interactions, allowing her to focus on her writing. By prioritizing solitude and meaningful endeavors, and achieved what few dare to dream. Her first essay collection was published at the age of 92, earning critical acclaim. By the time she was 103, her collected works had left an enduring legacy, proving that when we step away from draining relationships, we create space for our most profound achievements. Marie Curie, the legendary scientist, shared a similar perspective. She and her husband owned just 2 chairs when they were newly married. When advised to purchase more for guests, she famously replied, "If we have more chairs, people will visit, and we'll spend our time entertaining instead of working." Their choice to prioritize their research over social expectations led to groundbreaking discoveries that forever changed the world. The lesson here is both simple and profound. Living authentically means having the courage to walk away from what doesn't serve you. This doesn't mean isolating yourself, but rather curating a life filled with intention, where every moment spent reflects your values and aspirations. Solitude is not the absence of connection, it is the presence of self. In those quiet moments, you rediscover who you are, unfiltered by the noise of others' opinions or expectations. If you find yourself feeling burdened by social obligations that no longer bring you joy, permit yourself to step back. Create a sanctuary of peace within your heart, a space where your spirit can flourish. Protecting your energy is not selfish, it's essential. By choosing where and how to invest your time, you allow your soul to breathe and your dreams to take shape. When you learn to savor your own company, you emit a quiet confidence that inspires others while freeing yourself to live fully and unapologetically. You don't need the world's approval to find your place in it. Your energy is your most precious resource. Cherish it, honor it, and spend it wisely. In doing so, you'll discover that the most meaningful relationships, including the one you have with yourself, will naturally flourish in the spaces you've carefully nurtured. Third characteristic, living simply with a rich heart. The writer Eleanor Grant once expressed a profound truth. All people live wrapped in layers of their choices, much like the clothes they wear. This idea is more than just a poetic observation. It speaks to the very essence of our lives. It reminds us that every decision we make, and every value we hold dear, shapes the identity we present to the world. Women who possess a quiet, enduring beauty seem to have unlocked a profound secret about life. They consciously choose simplicity, not as a limitation, but as a path to true richness. Their lives are uncluttered by the incessant demands of modern consumerism, and their focus lies not on accumulating material possessions but on nurturing a full heart, content, and deeply connected to what matters most. These women remind me of a tranquil river winding its way through the mountains, unhurried, steady, and undisturbed by the chaos around it. They don't seek validation in the eyes of others or the shine of expensive jewelry or flashy clothes. Instead, they find fulfillment in cultivating an inner world that radiates peace and purpose. Their beauty is not loud or artificial. It's a beauty that draws you in gently like the warm glow of sunlight filtering through the trees on an autumn afternoon. Let me share the story of my neighbor, Mrs. Eleanor Adams, whose life has been an endless source of inspiration to me. Eleanor is the embodiment of this philosophy of simplicity. Her presence alone seems to whisper of wisdom and grace. She doesn't live in a grand house or drive a luxury car. Her home is small but inviting, filled with the comforting scent of lavender and the sound of soft classical music playing in the background. Everything about her environment feels intentional, from the wooden furniture that carries the charm of decades of use to the simple vases of fresh flowers she places by the window. Eleanor's wardrobe reflects the same sense of calm and clarity. She doesn't follow fleeting trends or chase after the latest fashion. Instead, she wears soft, timeless cotton dresses, always clean and neatly pressed, with a simple elegance that feels unshakable. While others in the neighborhood rush to show off the newest designer bags or glittering jewels, Eleanor's quiet style speaks volumes. She doesn't need extravagance to shine. Her aura of peace and contentment is her adornment. What moves me most is not just Eleanor's outward simplicity but the richness of her inner life. Her days are filled with activities that reflect her values and passions. She loves to paint, and when she sits at her wooden easel by the sunlit window, it feels as though time slows down. Her hands move with purpose, each brushstroke telling a story, each color expressing an emotion. Her paintings aren't the kind you'd find in a gallery, but they are masterpieces of the heart, filled with scenes of nature, quiet villages, and the serenity she carries within. Eleanor's life reminds me of something I've come to believe deeply. Happiness isn't found in the things we acquire but in the moments we treasure. She finds joy in what many people might overlook: a perfectly brewed cup of herbal tea, the rustling of leaves outside her window, or the sight of a single butterfly fluttering through her garden. Her days are a celebration of life's simplest yet most profound gifts, and her gratitude for these moments is palpable. The simplicity Eleanor practices isn't about deprivation. It's about abundance of the right kind. Her life is rich, not with material wealth but with a wealth of love, peace, and authenticity. There's a quiet wisdom in how she lives, a reminder that by letting go of what doesn't matter, we create space for what truly does. Her serene demeanor and sparkling eyes seem to hold the secret to a fulfilling life. It's as though her calm presence mirrors the stillness of a lake at sunset, undisturbed and deeply connected to the beauty around it. This philosophy of simplicity has been echoed by many great thinkers. Margaret Alcott once said, "A truly elegant woman doesn't flaunt what she owns. Her beauty lies in how she lives." Eleanor exemplifies this sentiment perfectly. She doesn't seek to impress or compete. She simply lives in harmony with her values. She shows us that true beauty isn't in possessions but in purpose, and that elegance is a reflection of the soul rather than the wardrobe. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Eleanor's life also brings to mind the words of Evelyn Parker, who wrote, "Women should be like wildflowers, beautiful and captivating, yet never gaudy or excessive. Their quiet presence leaves a lasting impression." Indeed, Eleanor's quiet beauty leaves an indelible mark on everyone she meets. She doesn't chase after fleeting trends or superficial pleasures. Instead, she invests in the kind of joy that grows over time. Joy rooted in meaningful relationships, self-expression, and the simple act of living with gratitude. As I grow older, I find myself reflecting on the liberating truth that women like Eleanor seem to have always known. The less you cling to the unnecessary, the freer you become. Simplicity isn't about sacrificing joy. It's about finding it in the most unexpected places. It's about realizing that life's most precious gifts, love, peace, and connection, can never be bought. Living simply with a rich heart is not just a choice. It's a way of honoring yourself and the life you've been given. It's a way of saying no to the distractions and pressures of the world and yes to what truly matters. It's about finding joy in the everyday, about savoring the quiet moments that make life worth living. Women like Eleanor teach us that simplicity is not the absence of ambition but the presence of wisdom. Their lives inspire us to slow down, look inward, and embrace the extraordinary beauty of the ordinary. In their quiet strength and steady grace, they remind us that a life well lived is one that reflects the richness of the heart, not the size of the bank account. Eleanor's life has taught me so much, not just about simplicity but about the kind of legacy I hope to leave behind. It's a legacy not of possessions or accomplishments but of love, kindness, and a heart that remains open to the beauty of the world. And for that, I will always be grateful. And personal story. At the end of today's discussion, I want to share a deeply personal and transformative story from my life. One that changed everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and family. I call it The Forgotten Girl. It was a crisp autumn morning in Vermont, the kind that made you feel alive with its clean, cool air and fiery bursts of color in the trees. I had only been married for a week, still wrapped in the quiet joy of being newlywed, and was trying to settle into our new life together. That morning, I decided to visit the small farmers market in town, a quaint, peaceful place where the earthy scent of fresh vegetables mingled with the sweet aroma of baked goods. It was my first attempt at creating a simple routine as James's wife, and I was savoring the calm, everyday rhythm of it. As I reached for a perfectly ripe tomato, a woman approached me. Her warm smile seemed friendly, but her eyes carried a weight that unsettled me. She looked like someone who had known me for years, even though I didn't recognize her. "You must be Sarah Bennett," she said, her voice steady yet probing. "The new wife of James, right?" I smiled nervously and nodded, though my mind was racing. Who was this woman? And how did she know so much about me? She leaned in slightly, her tone shifting to something softer, almost cautious. What she said next hit me like a thunderbolt. "You didn't know James has a 4-year-old daughter, did you?" The world seemed to freeze. Her words were so unexpected, so shocking, that for a moment I couldn't even breathe. My hands trembled, and before I knew it, the shopping bag I was holding slipped from my grasp. The tomatoes and carrots I'd carefully picked out scattered across the market floor, but I couldn't bring myself to move. The woman must have seen the shock written all over my face because her voice softened even more. "I'm so sorry," she said gently. "I didn't mean to upset you, but I thought you should know." The noise of the market faded into the background as her words replayed in my mind. James has a daughter. A 4-year-old daughter. How could this be possible? Why had he never told me? Sensing my confusion, the woman offered to explain and led me to a nearby cafe. I followed her, though my legs felt like lead. We sat by a window overlooking the bustling street, but I could barely see anything past the storm of emotions swirling inside me. She began to speak, her words unraveling a story I wasn't prepared to hear. "Her name is Emily," the woman said. "She's been living with James's aunt, Martha, ever since her mother left. Emily's mother, Laura, and James had a complicated relationship. Laura wanted him to marry her, but he refused. Some people say that this is James's way of paying for his mistakes." I felt my chest tighten, my heart breaking with every word she said. How could James keep something like this from me? A child wasn't a minor detail. It was a life, a part of him that he had hidden from me. The betrayal felt like a tidal wave, drowning everything I thought I knew about the man I had just married. I couldn't listen anymore. Her voice became a distant hum, like the muffled roar of a storm. I excused myself from the cafe, barely managing to whisper a thank you before I left. When I got home, I sat in silence for what felt like hours, staring blankly at the wall as the woman's words echoed in my mind. The doubt, the pain, the disbelief, it all gnawed at me, refusing to let go. I knew I couldn't let this fester. I needed answers, no matter how much it hurt. Later that afternoon, I decided to confront the truth head-on. I drove over an hour to James's Aunt Martha's house, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. The drive felt excruciatingly long, every mile filled with questions that had no answers. When I finally arrived, Martha greeted me at the door, her smile kind but guarded. Her eyes avoided mine, and that alone told me everything I needed to know. And then I saw her. Emily was sitting on the living room floor, her tiny hands carefully threading beads onto a string. She looked up briefly, her dark curls framing a face so strikingly similar to James's that it took my breath away. My heart felt like it stopped. There she was, the child I hadn't known existed, the living proof of James's secret. I turned to Martha, my voice trembling. "Is she James's daughter?" Martha hesitated, her eyes darting away. She mumbled something vague about Emily's parents being far away, but her tone lacked conviction. I didn't need her to say it outright. I already knew. The drive back home was a blur of emotions: anger, sadness, betrayal. When I walked through the door, James was sitting on the couch, his face lighting up when he saw me. But his smile faded the moment he saw the expression on my face. I stood there, trying to steady my voice, but the words came out sharper than I intended. "Is she yours?" I demanded. "Why didn't you tell me?" James's face turned pale, and he looked down, as though the weight of his secret had finally crushed him. "I'm sorry," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I was afraid. I thought you wouldn't accept her, and I didn't want to lose you." His confession didn't bring me comfort. If anything, it deepened the wound. How could I trust someone who had hidden something so important? My heart felt shattered, and I didn't know if it could ever be whole again. Without saying another word, I went upstairs and began packing my things. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. James tried to stop me. He stood in the doorway, pleading with me to stay, his desperation evident in every word. But I couldn't. The pain was too raw, the betrayal too deep. I left that night and drove to my parents' house, tears streaming down my face as I collapsed into my mother's arms. My mother, ever protective, was furious. "How could he keep something like this from you? A man who hides his child isn't worthy of being your husband," she said. But my father, always the voice of calm wisdom, offered a different perspective. "What James did was wrong," he said softly, "but the real question is whether you still love him enough to forgive. And does he love you enough to make things right?" Those words lingered in my mind for weeks. Over the next 6 months, James worked tirelessly to regain my trust. He visited my parents' home every weekend, enduring my mother's icy glares and repeating the same heartfelt apology over and over. Slowly, his persistence began to break through the walls I had built around my heart. I decided to give him another chance, though I made it clear that our relationship would never survive another lie. Life found a new rhythm, and a year later, I gave birth to our daughter, Lily. She was a light in our lives, her laughter filling the house with joy. But even as I cherished my new role as a mother, I couldn't stop thinking about Emily. She deserved a family, too. One evening, I turned to James and said, "It's time to bring Emily home." When Emily arrived, she was shy and hesitant, her wide eyes scanning the unfamiliar surroundings. I knelt, my heart aching with a mix of guilt and determination. "You're safe now," I whispered as I wrapped my arms around her. She hesitated for a moment, then burst into tears and clung to me tightly. From that moment, Emily became a part of our family. The road wasn't easy, there were days of doubt and frustration, but it was worth every challenge. Emily and Lily grew inseparable, and our home became a place of laughter, love, and healing. Looking back, I realized that this experience taught me the true meaning of family. It's not about perfection or ease. It's about choosing love, even when it's hard. It's about forgiveness, resilience, and the willingness to rebuild, even when the foundation feels broken. The forgotten girl was never truly forgotten. She became a cherished part of our story, a testament to the power of love, even in the face of pain. As we wrap up this heartfelt story, I want to leave you with a moment of reflection. Life often throws unexpected challenges our way, testing our strength, our love, and our ability to forgive. Through this journey, I learned that family isn't about perfection. It's about embracing imperfections, choosing love over resentment, and finding the courage to rebuild what's been broken. Now, I want to hear from you. What have you learned from this story? Was it the power of forgiveness? The importance of honesty in relationships? Or maybe the value of resilience in the face of betrayal? Share one lesson you've taken from this story and let us know how you plan to bring it into practice in your own life. If you found this story moving and relatable, please leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more stories and life lessons that inspire and empower. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.